Welcome to the Homeschool Show with NCHE. Our goal is to help you homeschool with confidence and joy. I'm your host, Matthew McDill. Thank you so much for joining us again this week. In Homeschool News, we're going to let you know how to get some of the recordings from the Thrive Conference that we had a couple weeks ago. Also, we have a new legislative survey we'd love for you to take. I'll tell you about that. And in Homeschool Conversations, we have two conversations. One, we're going to finish up part of my conversation with Catherine Gomes. She was one of the featured speakers at our conference. We're also going to talk to Mike Dixon, who is the Fit Farmer on YouTube. He came to the conference, and we're going to talk a little bit about that. In Homeschool Helps, Amanda's going to tell us how to know if homeschooling is right for you, if it is the right choice for you. This is an important question, and I hope it'll be helpful to you. So, heading into homeschool news, you can get any single recordings of the workshops at the conference for $6. You can go to nche.com/2024-conference-recordings. And of course, we will have that link in the show notes. You'll be able to find any of the recordings, maybe that of workshops that you missed, or maybe that you want to hear again, or if you weren't able to be there. Also, for $180, you can get the entire conference recording. So all of that is on MP3, and you can go to that website and find everything you need. Also, we have a legislative survey, and the main idea here is that we want to hear from you. We want to know, what are you concerned about? What would you like to see happen? What would you like to make sure doesn't happen with relationship to home education in legislation? Our legislative committee is working hard to make sure that homeschooling is free and friendly in North Carolina. That's what we've been doing. We're going to continue to do it. You can go to nche.com/legislative survey and let us know what you are thinking. Okay, going into homeschool conversations, want to remind you that Catherine Bell Gomes is Apologia's esteemed math author, nationwide speaker, and a homeschool student herself, daughter of Deborah Bell. And of course, I want to remind you she is one of our featured speakers and gave some excellent workshops. Catherine holds a Master of Education in Mathematics from the University of Pennsylvania and a BS in Mathematics from the University of Pittsburgh. She has lots of teaching experience, and one of her greatest passions is improving mathematics education for homeschoolers by increasing rigor while maintaining the creativity and free thinking that she enjoyed in her homeschooling. Want to mention a few of the topics of her workshops. Living math, teaching off the page in the Charlotte Mason style. What my mom did right, what my mom did wrong. Thoughts from a second-generation homeschooler. Toddlers in tow, what to do with your little ones while you homeschool. Learning how to learn. And last, 5 ways God used homeschooling to strengthen my faith and prepare me to engage the world. I just want to mention those since I told you that you were able to get the recordings of the workshops on our website. As we go into this particular part of the conversation, I'm asking her about the question, more about her topic, what my mom did right and what my mom did wrong. And you'll see us pick it up right from there. A few minutes ago, we were talking about math and how that wasn't the greatest strong point in your education growing up. But this topic, what my mom did right and what my mom did wrong, thoughts from a second-generation homeschooler. Also, I think it's going to get a lot of attention. And so what else besides math would come up on that list?
Yeah, this one is a ton of fun. I'm going to share 4 things I would change and 6 things I'm grateful for. And one of the big ones that I would change was handwriting, which normally takes people by surprise. And I should also mention, I interviewed my siblings for this one to make sure it wasn't just like my perspective as the suffering middle child. So I got backed up on this. My mom did not have us do handwriting because she thought it was boring. And that was a little bit her bent. Like, she loved the fun, exciting stuff and some of the like grammar she would skip. So we skipped handwriting. And I even remember her saying, "Oh, you'll just be typing everything when you're, cause technology." And then I became a public school teacher and like
Oh,
everything is handwritten. Kids were getting sent back with my hall passes because no one believed that a teacher could have had handwriting. I didn't know how to write in
wow.
cursive. I never learned cursive. The funniest part to me about that is my mom realized she forgot to teach me cursive, but then she didn't teach it to me. She just was like, "Oops." So
Well,
had some kind of funny moments taking like the GRE after 4 years of college, and I didn't know how to write the like I certify that I'm the person. Obviously, I figured out a signature, or I wouldn't have been able to like buy a house.
yeah.
But so that one's kind of like a funny one that we joke about. But I feel like the moral of that story is just like sometimes there's things that are boring and you still have to make your kids do them. My kids hate handwriting, but I'm like, no, we have to have at least halfway decent handwriting. So,
And so your argument for handwriting is just basically functionality, just being able to.
yeah, low bar. I mean, we really did like no handwriting. And I am going to teach my kids cursive so that they can write that statement on the GREs. But I think that more broad than that is that we all have things that we would love to just skip, but we don't know what God's going to call our kids to. So, interestingly, my family didn't do a good job with math, but now I'm a math geek and my husband is an electrical engineer. Obviously, we're doing plenty of math. I'm trying to make sure we don't skip the arts just because that's not like our thing. And maybe one of my
Yeah.
kids is going to become a musician. So I don't, the specifics might change, but you just have to be careful about tailoring it too much to your own interests.
Yeah, for sure. That's a big one. So what about one of the things you're grateful for?
One of the things that I am really grateful for is friendships. And I put this in the session because when I was being homeschooled, everybody would always say, "What about socialization?" And now here we are, a whole generation later. And what do people say about my kids? What about socialization? So I have a little bit of a beef with that particular objection because I just feel like, could we move on, everyone, to something different? But I feel like I had amazing friendships because I was homeschooled. Like I said, I taught in the public schools, I taught in public high schools. And I think that sometimes seeing your friends every day can be a lot. It's actually a lot of time with your peers. And so for me, I had those co-op days. I mean, obviously, we were very active. Everyone who homeschools knows you're not like just sitting at home every day, but it was nice to have breaks, right? It was nice to have not every day such an amped up time with my peers. And then also, I had friendships across age groups. So I had really good friendships with little kids, really good friends. I knew all my friends' parents. I feel like homeschooling breaks down the age divides a little bit just by necessity. And now I look back and I'm really grateful for that. I think that was good that I didn't just have all these friends who were my peers, but that I was used to hanging out in broader age ranges.
As we wrap it up here, do you have just an ending favorite piece of advice that you'd like to give our listeners? And then let us know how people can find you and get in touch with your ministry.
I think I would say make sure you make time to acknowledge all the successes, all the ways that God has been faithful this past school year, everything that went well. I think it can be tempting to just jump to what about next year? What are we going to do for this? And not embrace just like the stories of faithfulness from this past year.
Mm.
So that's what I would say to that. So you can find me on Instagram. I'm Homeschool Math Mom. That's my favorite social media platform. I love Instagram. I'm also on Facebook, Catherine M. Gomes, and I'm on YouTube as Homeschool Math Mom.
We're so glad Catherine was able to join us at the conference. We had also a special guest, Mike Dixon. He is the Fit Farmer on YouTube. He loves to tell about his family and his farm and what he's doing in his faith. And so I was able to sit down and talk with him. He came to the conference. I also want to let you know that on his channel, The Fit Farmer, he did a great segment on their trip to the conference and was able to talk to some of us about the conference and share his experience. So you want to check that as well. And here is my conversation with him. All right, we are here at the Thrive Conference and talking to Mike Dixon. This is the first time you've been at the Thrive Conference, right?
Technically, this is the second time. I came all by myself when my wife was pregnant with our first child 14 years ago, because I was like,
right.
We knew we wanted to get into homeschooling, so it kind of gave me the encouragement that we could do it. But sadly, I hadn't been since then.
So how's the conference been so far?
It's been great. It's especially being all these years of homeschooling, kind of doing everything on our own for the most part. Coming here has been really encouraging, learning a lot about just some of the technical side of homeschooling, but also what I didn't see coming into it is getting encouraged as a parent. That we need that encouragement as parents to strengthen one another, lift up one another. Kind of reminds me of some of the verses in Titus and Timothy talking about older women teach the younger women. I see a lot of that happening. Same with the older men inspiring the younger and all of us together. It's pretty neat.
And so you have a video blog or
Yes.
YouTube channel where you're sharing about your life, your family, your homestead, everything you're doing. Tell us about that.
Yes. So the name of my channel is called The Fit Farmer. So I used to be a bodybuilder and personal trainer and nutritional coach years ago. That was my career, but I felt called out of that career and to start homesteading. So we lived in the city at the time. We sold everything to start pursuing our homesteading goals, and all of it was aligned with homeschooling. I felt like we were just being called to live a more home, family-centered way of life. So I left that career, started homesteading, and we were having kids and just doing everything together. And we one day just decided, why don't we start video vlogging, journaling our journeys together, our life together, and just share with others, and also give us something to look back on and to share see those memories again. And then thankfully God has blessed it, and we've been able to share. And I didn't see this going into it, but it's been so encouraging that there's been times that I wanted to quit that, quit the YouTube channel. But then we receive all these different comments of how many people were inspired by the different things that we were doing. And I was like, I can't quit. It's like we're helping people out. So that encouraged us to keep going, and so glad that God has blessed it.
So share with us like some of the themes or lessons that you find yourself talking a lot about that you think are important for the home focus. Whether that's homeschooling, spiritually, parenting, whatever. But what keeps coming up in your lives that's helpful to people?
One of it, a lot of it's centered on the way of give. You look at the Bible and it's based on a way of life of give. It's not about the way of get. And I feel like that's a big part of learning a way of life that actually is life producing, is being focused not just on ourselves, but what we can give to others and serving others. And whether you're growing a garden or you're homeschooling and parenting, it's based on serving and helping one another out. Even on the homestead, I remember when I first got into gardening as a part of it, I didn't grow up as a gardener at all, or I didn't have any farming background at all. It was definitely a calling for sure. But when you start a plant from seed, you nurture it, take care of it, and then you get to the point of harvesting it, and then you're able to share that with other people. It's so powerful. It's so amazing. And to be able to enjoy the fruits of your labor, but also to be able to share those fruits with others. And I kind of see the same thing with parenting and homeschooling. It's kind of the same way. You're starting a life from seed, nurturing it, taking care of it, and that hopefully our children will be a blessing to the community and people at large.
I can't miss the opportunity to point out that our magazine is called Greenhouse.
Yeah.
And that's why they named it that, is to picture the process of creating a place for growth for our kids. Our homes are like the greenhouse. So we're growing the kids up.
That's right.
And preparing them. So that's a great picture.
Yeah.
And I like the idea, too, that we're doing that for the purpose of giving back or ministering to others. And so we want to raise them with the idea of what is God calling me to do to be a blessing.
Exactly right. And that's what God wants us to do. He calls us His children, and He wants us to be training our children up in His ways so that He just has this big family.
Yeah. So did you already tell us how can we find your channel?
You can find me on YouTube, The Fit Farmer. I'm also on Instagram as well, but we share our journeys weekly on YouTube, and feel free to check those out. We also live in a yurt, so if you don't know what that is, you can also go on there and check that
You
out
should
too.
find that out. Yeah.
Yeah.
All right. Any last things regarding maybe something that you learned here or something that you'd want to share with parents?
I just want to say you can do it. Don't try to do it alone, though. We need one another. Last couple years, especially 2020, we learned a lot of lessons of that isolation and things like that don't work, that we need people. Even in the homesteading community, I've seen people try to go live off-grid and try to live completely isolated by themselves. It doesn't work. We need community. We need people. God said it's not good for man to be alone, and there's a lot of principles there too, but iron sharpens iron. We need one another, and make sure you make an effort to go to these type of events, to invest in yourself, so that way you can be a better servant for God.
Yeah. Thanks, Mike.
Yeah, thanks for
Talking
having
to
us.
us.
Yeah.
Welcome to Homeschool Helps with Amanda. I'm Amanda Wares, Homeschool Helps Director with NCHE. So today we're talking about how do you know that homeschooling is the right choice? Whew, this is a big one. And there is absolutely no way that I can fully flesh out this topic in 5 minutes or so, but I'm going to give it a try. We're going to tackle. So first off, if you haven't started homeschooling yet, how do you know if homeschooling is going to be the right choice for you and your family? And I would say that to some extent, there is no way to know that until, not 100%, until you are in it and you've already made the leap and you're experiencing it and can figure out, okay, is my family and my child thriving in this situation, or would some other educational situation be better for them? I will never say that homeschooling is 100% the right choice for every family or every child. Now, I will say, unpopular opinion coming, get ready, that public school or government school, in my opinion, at this point, the system is broken, and I don't feel like it is the right choice for any child at this point. I really pretty strongly feel that way, and I could go on and on for why I feel that way, but that's one. However, every single parent, every single family, homeschooling might not be the right choice for you for a variety of reasons. But let's say, let's have some examples. So you have started homeschooling. You made the leap. You're in it. And sometimes that first year, I've talked a lot about this, can be difficult. The transition can be hard for you or your children. I had a child who, the first year we were homeschooling, every single time somebody asked her for that year, "Oh, you're homeschooling. Do you like it?" She would tell everyone, "No, I hate it," for a whole year. Now, so in that situation, if your child is telling you, I hate this, does that mean it's the wrong choice? Not necessarily. So I would advise anybody, if you're in a situation and you feel you're struggling as mom, dad, teacher, or your child is struggling, I would advise you to look at why. What is the why behind it? And don't automatically assume that getting rid of homeschooling is going to fix that situation, because it might not. That might not be the actual issue. With my daughter, the actual issue was that she hated change of any sort. She has ADHD, she has some neurodivergence going on, and change of any kind, positive, negative, is scary and hard. And it just takes more time for her in particular to settle into things and to experience them in a positive way. So look at those situations. Look at the why behind it. Is perhaps if your child is saying, I hate this, I want to go back to school, traditional school, does that mean that homeschooling's not working? Or does it mean that maybe there's something in your situation that needs to be reevaluated? Such as, is the type of curriculum that you chose not a good fit? Maybe it needs to be a different kind. Maybe you need more hands-on. Maybe you need more structure or less structure. Maybe you truly need to be intentional about finding those social opportunities. Socialization is always the hot button word, but truly, maybe if you're an introvert, but your child's an extrovert and they are feeling the need for that kind of interaction outside of the home, maybe you truly do need to look at that and figure out a way to meet that need. But that doesn't mean that homeschooling itself is not the right choice. Now, I will give you an example of when I think it's probably not. Homeschooling's probably not the right choice. And that would be if your spouse is 100% dead set against homeschooling and you have not been able to come to an agreement, don't do it. Do not force that issue. In my case, my husband was dead set against homeschooling. He did not understand it at all. He did not like it at all. However, in our situation, that first year, he had said, okay, you can try homeschooling for a year. So we did have agreement at that time. So I would encourage you, if you don't have any sort of agreement with your spouse, your partner, then don't do it. That is a time when homeschooling is not the right choice. If you or your spouse, partner, whoever's going to be doing the homeschooling is not willing to put in any kind of effort at all into doing the educating, or, like I said before, being intentional about finding those social opportunities or meeting whatever need that your child has, social, academic, whatever. If you're not willing to do that, to be intentional about that, then homeschooling is probably not the right choice for you. If you're looking for an easy way out, looking for an easy escape from the mess that is the system, I think homeschooling can be the right choice for you, but you are probably going to have a little bit of a rude awakening because it is not easy. Homeschooling is wonderful, and I will cheerlead it until the day I die, but it is not easy. Certainly not every day. But I would say that if you are coming into homeschooling with sincere motives to do the best that you can for your child, you want absolutely the best for them, you are willing to be intentional to meet their needs academically, socially, spiritually, all the things, then regardless of if your child expresses dislike or discomfort about the situation, especially if it's new, then homeschooling is still the right choice for you. All right? I really hope this helps today.
Thanks so much for joining us this week. We would love to hear from you. You can contact us at thehomeschoolshow@nche.com and let us know your thoughts and any suggestions that you have. Also, you can find out all the ways to share this podcast and this video on YouTube by going to nche.com/thehomeschoolshow. And maybe there are other ways that you can listen to it or share it or subscribe. And until next week, continue to homeschool with confidence and joy.